Hi, my name is Martin,
And I'm Tiffany.
and we're the traditional Catholic couple.
I'm a Catholic convert. So you're probably wondering how I got here. I was raised in a Protestant household, and in my early childhood, my parents were actually converting from being Catholic to being Protestant. And even during this transition, I was still baptized in the Catholic Church. And then from there, we ended up going to a Protestant church, and I went to a Protestant school from kindergarten to eighth grade. And we were pretty much just your Sunday Protestant family. And so when high school came, I stopped attending church because I felt like our family was no different than any other family. The only thing that was different was that we attended church on Sundays. So knowing this, I always felt that I would probably return to church around the age of 21 just because I felt like that was an adult decision and I was still trying to figure out life and kind of what I wanted. And throughout all these years, I was told that my infant baptism was not valid. So when I became an adult, that when I was going to get rebaptized. And so when I was 21, that didn't happen. I ended up coming back to church at the age of 23. And from there on, I was going to church on Sundays and midweek services on Tuesdays, and then joining a family group on Thursdays. So I was like your traditional church girl. Then I met Martine. And after 2.5 years of dating, we got married. And shortly after we got married, he let me know that he wanted to return to the Catholic faith. And I was completely shocked. I was, I couldn't believe what he was telling me. Since from the very beginning, when we first started dating, I told him exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for a man of God to lead our family, and it completely threw me off that he wanted to change religions, especially since now we were married. And he never pressured me to become Catholic. He just told me to do my research and then from there just decide, what I wanted to do. So I accepted, and I thought that I was going to convert him to become Protestant. And I didn't show it outwardly, but inwardly, I just was really prideful, and I believed that I was going to prove him wrong. So I bought tons of books to do my research, and I used many outlets, and I even consulted with friends who knew a lot about the whole history of the church and how Protestants broke away from the Catholic faith. And so when I did more, so when I was doing my research, I was actually debunking a lot of things that I was told for a lot of my life, such as the Catholics worship all these different idols, which they don't, which how we should only believe in what the Bible says, but then we're missing a lot of the tradition that Jesus taught his apostles, and that how Martin Luther actually, or how the Catholic faith added a lot more books to the Bible, but it was actually Martin Luther who decided to move them to the back, and it was a printing company that removed those books. So the more research I did, the more I was eliminating all the lies, and I was actually able to see the truth. So I had two choices at this time. I could either accept that for 30 years I was wrong and then convert to the Catholic faith, or I could just be prideful and stick to being Protestant. So I wanted to really live out my faith in truth. So that's how I became into the Catholic faith. And I really wanted to know more of the history, more of the tradition that I was missing for so many years, and just really how God wanted us to worship Him on Sunday and how Mass should be and the importance of everything, the significance of everything, all the traditions. And Candace Owens said it beautifully. She said, "To know your history is to become Catholic." And I couldn't agree more. So seeing her conversion, knowing that we also converted, so seeing her conversion was just beautiful because I knew that I was at that state exactly and how I just wanted to know the truth. So whether it's being I was wrong or right, it's just I really just wanted to love God and live the life that God had designed us to be. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful conversion story, I would say. Um, I always said that God have a very unique way to call every single of us to his venue, to his church, one way or another, always, always, always. If we let him do his will, if we do his will, it's a done deal. As he will take us in so many ways, in so many directions. They we can't even dream about it, right? So yeah, I will agree on that. It was it was all him. It was all Mama Mary also, because I never asked anything for my wife to be like, okay, well, by force. No, I want her to do her own research. I wanted to read about history and learn. It's almost impossible to believe. For me, I knew that from the very beginning, right? The years that I separate from the Catholic Church, I separate because sin. You cannot be sinning and being close to the Catholic Church. You will do one or the other. Same thing with the rosary, right? As soon as I started doing the rosary, I started realizing, and somebody mentioned to me, I think so one time, and he was saying, the rosary have very unique um, uh, graces that give us when we are faithful to Our Lady. And one of those virtues and graces that we receive, if we cannot be sinning and doing the rosary, it's impossible. You will leave one, or you will be sinning, or you will be doing the rosary. So I think so that was the turning point. It was this little details like that I start doing and try to develop those habits, either on my own sinfulness, either on my own wrong ideas to think about marriage, or what I want to believe that it was a marriage. It was Our Lady, the one that actually delivered me on that department. It was the one it changed the view how I used to see women in general, or yeah, everything. Um, it was her. It was her touch, and I will say that it was the one also keeping us together until today. It was her. It was her intercession as a mother. It was her. Yep.
And even during that time when he was telling me just to do my research, it was a whole like he thinking that he's right and me thinking that I was right. But I had known he had shared with me that he had actually gone to seminary for a couple of years. So I was thinking, well, of course, you think you're right because that's what they taught you to believe. And then I was like, well, I think I'm right because I've read the whole Protestant Bible and I know a lot about the Bible itself. So that was one thing that I thought I had more knowledge of. But what's really interesting too is even though I had read the Bible, I still felt there was things in my Catholic faith in my Protestant faith, I still felt like there was things in my Protestant faith that were still missing, that there was traditions that in the New Testament that I wasn't seeing in the Protestant church. And it was really confusing because I know that the Bible today is still the same and it's still breathing, right? It's still relevant. And to see that those things not become in practice, still like a missing piece to me. And then I didn't find that missing piece until we started going to traditional Latin Mass. So that was really significant. And that's just what really solidified me finally finding the one true church.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's the same. I will unite myself to my wife. Besides all the sin, right? I can go days probably talking about all the wrong things that I done against my marriage, against my wife, against my kids, against coworkers, against friends, against you know everybody. On my own sinfulness, and I know I'm wrong. I know I was wrong I was wrong for so many years. So, but I don't want to get my attention to that. I think so that we all have that part, right? We all not perfect. We all that's why we come into church. Church I think is not for the perfect people. It's actually for the people that we are all sick, and we need God to heal us. So that's why we come to Mother Church. It's exactly why we need that. We need that healing. We need that contact. We need that one-on-one communication with Him, and with the sacraments, and being close to everything that the church offers. Right, so much. This is why I said is for me it's not even worth it to go in and mention, right, all the bad stuff that we got exposed, or I exposed my family to it, right, all those doors that I opened with my own sin. They're enough disturbing the marriage. It is enough creating pain on my wife, creating pain on my kids, creating pain even on friendships. We have to take a side, we have to put on the side, we have to put everything on hold to be able to heal ourselves, to be able to work, right? To be able to allow God to heal us. That's a reality. It's not us healing, it's God healing us. And we still, I would say it's a work in progress on the department. We're still asking for those prayers, and asking Our Lady, asking our Lord to heal us, to make sure they cover us with her mantle to Our Lady. And it's in that realization, to walking with God, to walking with her mom, with Mama Mary, to walking to our church, uh, that we realized that it was a lot of missing information that we never knew until we started going to TLM, right? Traditional Latin Mass, and that we start getting more closer to the ministries of exorcism, uh, the ministries of deliverance, right? Working with the Libro Cristo team, doing some work for the Libro Cristo team, doing some work for Virgin Most Powerful on the Spiritual Warfare conferences. Um, yeah, it changed our life. That's how we actually start like understanding a little bit more about that it was just more than just going to mass on Sundays, right? On my own personal conversion, and I grew Catholic. I grew up uh, being Catholic my entire life, and uh, devoted to Our Lady of Conception in Nicaragua, Managua, Nicaragua. Um, I think I never understood what it was to be Catholic until I really learned how to live our faith in the last 2 years, I would say. For so many years, so many years, my wife, it was just a Catholic by name. It was just something that I just like to say that I was a Catholic, but actions that were different. So my conversion story, I would say, start from the very beginning when we got married, and right after that, when I got into a major motorcycle accident right after a month that we just got married. That was the leading of the beginning of my marriage. It was with a major accident, not even able to walk properly, not able to move my arms. I got a surgery on my right arm. It was just chaos all over. And on a brand new marriage, right? This is the best way how you start it. I would say that's not how you're gonna start the marriage. It's it just be uh, try to make a joke on it, but yeah, it was something. But at the same time, I see God's mercy, right? It was a very bad accident that a lot of people will be dead or will be not able to walk again, and that was not my situation. You know, I walked to a car after the accident. Uh,
Slowly.
slowly, slowly, slowly. It was a bad accident, but uh, is if that fighting spirit inside you, you don't want to you don't want to show any kind of weakness, right? You want to like, I got this. It's gonna be fine. Um, but I would say that's when I remember. I remember only one word at the moment that I was hitting the vehicle. The vehicle when it hit me, right? The van. It was only one word, and it was Jesus. That's all I got to say. And after that, it was just like everything just running in a slow motion, right? You got hit by a vehicle, you going in a freeway speed on a motorcycle. Usually you go a little faster than normal. Um, and a vehicle just literally hit you and throw you to the other side of the freeway. I hit the center divider. I remember that was the only word I can say. It was Jesus. And after that, I just remember almost passing out. I remember almost losing conscious. I very close. And when I landed to the other side of the freeway, I was like moving. I was moving all over, but that was because I was in pain. It was pain on all over that you don't even know. And I was so blessed that I remember a police officer just coming in a motorcycle, right? And he's trying to tell me to not move, stay. I remember some nurses that they were on traffic on the other side, that they jump out of their car and they come to assist, and they're talking with the officer and telling that they are nurses. They're trained and they're trying to help me. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that that's when the whole journey started. It started with a motorcycle accident. It started with that moment. And I just remember saying Jesus. Yep.
And I knowing being a being a Catholic convert and really seeing what cradle Catholics, how they were raised, it's they have gold, and a lot of them don't even know. Like, the Catholic faith is so rich, and they don't even know the privilege that they had being a Catholic pretty much their whole life. It isn't, a lot of times it's those who converted to the Catholic faith to really know the truth and how much more appreciation we have, because as cradle Catholics, that's pretty much all they know. So they don't know any different. This is like, hey, this is what I was told to do. This is what I was forced to do until I'm 18, and then 18 you could just do whatever you want. For the Protestant faith, it's a little different. I think it's a lot of times it's whenever you get to high school, you could do pretty much whatever you want. So that's pretty much why I stopped going to church when I was in high school, just because a lot of my friends weren't going to church anymore. And but I will say that I always felt different, and And it wasn't until probably in the past couple of years, it was because of my infant baptism. And a lot of people, while you weren't able to make that decision on your own, that's true. But what we're talking about is it's a spiritual battle. So not, we can't see it. The human eye can't see it, but demons can. They know that I was marked with God at my baptism. And I may have not accepted the being Catholic or into the faith at that time, but then that's why we have the sacrament of confirmation. So that's, yes, that what makes my baptism valid. That's, I accept to follow Jesus as my Lord and Savior. So it's a two-part step. And I think that's what people in the Protestant faith get a little confused. It's that, well, you didn't make that decision on yourself, so you're not really saved. They still have the mark. It's really getting rid of that original sin, but that's why we have the blessing of confirmation, and that's a step that the Protestants don't have, and that's one of the things that their faith is lacking.
Yeah, no, you said it right. I will agree with that. It's something that I think so. I hear one of the exorcists I think so talking. One of the talks that I was listening on YouTube, and he says something related with that about exclusively um, the difference with people that they are in the Catholic faith and the people that they're not in the Catholic faith at all, right? That they're from different religions. How it plays a huge role. Either they go to a point to explain about how demons recognize the authority of the baptism, even when they be away from the church for so long. But just having the baptism, it completely changed how demons can see that immediately. So that's something that, like you mentioned, is a spiritual round, right? And spiritual warfare. And yeah, yeah, you're right on point on that. And they can see it. So imagine. So same thing, recently listening to a commercial or kind of like a preview of of Dan Snyder, Dr. Dan Snyder interview. Sean Ryan, I think he's the one that's mentioning. He's saying something like, if we see today all the how active the the all the bad players, right? All the people that they're Satanists, all the people that are not with God, they're from the other side, are so active, and they want to prove to the world. They constantly try to show everyone they that's their belief. And that's the bad side. So means, is it the bad side really exists? The good side also exists. So he said it very clearly. So I think so that's very important in how we walk our faith. And he actually go to say, you know what, this is why these kind of things it renew my faith. It's strengthening my faith. So it's the same with you, I think so. When you start getting to know more your faith, you start realizing all the mistakes that Protestant offer, right? All the stuff that they modify, and how history play a huge role also.
Right. Yeah. So even while doing my research, one of the things was just right. Like their Bibles are so different. And I remember as a teenager actually visiting the Dead Sea Scrolls, and that was one of the things I was like, okay, if the books that Martin Luther took out are in the Dead Sea Scrolls, I know that's true. That I was like, they should have never been removed if they were in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And sure enough, those books were in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So it goes back to that for 1600 years, the Catholic Church was the same ever since Jesus. And it wasn't until Martin Luther King that he decided to change everything. So it's like one man in his 30s thought he had more knowledge and authority than the Pope. And when he moved those books to the back of the Bible, it was just because it was in different language. And later, the Pope said, no, those books are canonized and they belong in there. And but it wasn't him that actually removed it; it was a printing company.
Correct.
So I think a lot of people think that he removed it, and that's something that they are missing. So a printing company moved it in after the Pope told Martin Luther, like, no, they belong in there. So just imagine a man modifying the Bible, which it clearly says you shouldn't do at all. So, and it wasn't not. So it's the church fathers canonized those books, and who is Martin Luther to say that those books should not have been there?
Correct. Yep, I agree.
If you know someone that you think that would find our conversion stories helpful or beneficial or even relatable, please share this video with them.
May our God bless you, keep you, and never lose you.